the Colts really a contender? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It's great to be here with you on Friday, the 13th of November. Yeah, it's Friday the 13th, and it is 2020, as if things didn't get any weirder. But at least, as always, I'm joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony, who is currently having some struggles given the fact that he's unable to find a PlayStation 5 that does not break the wallet, at least for now. I offered him to get one on eBay. It's about 3 times the price of what it is on Sony's website.
I would not spend $1,000 for a game.
Any representative of Sony, if any salesperson, anyone who has a PlayStation 5 immediately at their disposal is willing to give it to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show so that we can advertise it, so that we can enjoy it, and that we can tell our viewers how awesome it is, Gavin Tony's your guy. Go hit him up. But Gavin, of course, how are you doing today outside of that?
I'm a defeated person when it comes to the gaming world. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we were this close yesterday. I know that's a little hard to tell, but we were this close. Zach, if you go on your end, show how close I was.
Right.
That close to getting a PlayStation 5 yesterday. Walmart, you guys suck. I'm gonna try to keep my composure. On the sports side, Tiger Woods, Zach, I'm happy. Tiger Woods is swinging the club really well. He's tied for 8 last time I looked. And the Colts actually outshined me and yours expectations. So it's a lot to get into, but how you doing?
I'm doing good. As you point out, I've been watching the Masters around the clock. Tiger Woods, a really great round yesterday, 4 under. I look forward to seeing him continue that greatness. Some guys above him who are a little younger and a little bit less experienced, as the course starts to dry up, as those greens get drier, I think are going to struggle. But Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, experience shines. And in this tournament, if they're locked in the way that they are right now, there's no doubt in my mind that they're both going to not only make the cut, but are going to compete on the last day for the green jacket. And then there's a big shocker as well. First of all, Rory McIlroy is over par right now, which is a surprise. But according to history, he has not played well in the Masters. I hope he can turn it around. The cut line is going to be around 1 under, surprisingly, unless something happens today where a lot of guys start going over par. But the cut line's looking at 1 under. Again, at the U.S. Open, it was around even par. So this is going to be an even more aggressive and even more competitive cut. With that being said, also, the defending champion of the U.S. Open, Bryson DeChambeau, not a strong start for him, but he had a lot of recovery shots. A lot of his greatness has been his driver, and he struggled yesterday a lot, and a lot of people are giving him crap for it. But he knocked down the putts when he had to. He had a lot of tight shots that he put in, and he's 2 under right now. So he's in a good spot right now to compete and continue. I hope he can have a bounce-back day. His practice rounds are good from what we hear. I have nothing but confidence he'll be able to bounce back. I know that everyone is trying to find an excuse to hate on him every opportunity you get. But I believe in DeChambeau, despite some of his bad shots yesterday, he had some really nice recovery shots. So if he can just straighten some of that out, he's going to be in for the long run. He's going to be doing pretty well. So not much concern about DeChambeau at all. I still think he can win this tournament. After yesterday, I'm not as confident as I was, but again, he was the favorite going into it. Of course, I pointed out the veterans and Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. The guy Fred Couples is on the tour, who's actually not doing too bad. He will not make the cut more than likely unless he's able to do really well in this last day. But he has been playing pretty well for his age, and it's fantastic to see guys who have been on the tour for so long continuing to compete at this level, and it's what makes the Masters so great. Other than that, Dustin Johnson, number 1 in the world, is continuing to look like it. He's doing really well. Justin Thomas, who is still finishing up his first round from yesterday, he's 5 or 6 under right now. I think he actually is 6 under. He missed a putt earlier to tie the leader at 7 under. But Justin Thomas, watch out for him. He's going to have a really good day, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he'll continue to compete. If I had to say an early favorite based on yesterday, I think Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas are number 1. Tiger Woods is in there as well. And then going back a little bit, unfortunately, DeChambeau is not where he wants to be. If he has a good round today, then my mindset on how he's doing could totally change. Gavin, any other reflections from you on the Masters so far?
Well, you can't ignore what Paul Casey and Dylan Fratelli, excuse me, I mispronounced that. You can't ignore what they did yesterday. They had a great day. They're tied for first, 7 under in just 1 round, Zach. That's wild. Justin Thomas and Dustin Johnson, those guys are playing well. But Zach, you already know where I'm leaning towards. Tiger Woods is tied for 10th right now. There's a chance for him to get into the top 5. I hope. I think there's a chance. Zach, the conversation yesterday was because Tiger Woods hasn't played in a long time. Will he be okay? Will he be rusty? And Zach, I wanted to view it in another way. He hasn't swung a club in a little while. That means his back is going to be 100% healthy, ready to go. Just swing a club for 4 days, hopefully. So I'm excited to see Tiger Woods for the rest of the day, Justin Johnson as well. And and Patrick Reed is ahead or tied with
Patrick Reed also had a great outing yesterday.
Patrick Reed. But the most shocker was the Shambo to me. He did not look well to start. Kind of picked it up at the end, but I hope he can have a bounce back day and same thing tomorrow. But Zach, that was probably the second biggest shocker. The Shambo's woes, and Tiger Woods' hot start.
Yeah, I think that for DeChambeau too, you get in such a rhythm when you're at that level of talent that you get a rain delay, abruptly stopping your play. You start on the 10th hole, which mentally throws you off. I mean, there's a lot of factors. It still affects PJ golfers. Some guys yesterday thrived in it, others crumbled. And so, as bad of a round as DeChambeau had, if he didn't double bogey that one hole, he should be 4 under right now, 5 under, even with some of the other bad holes he had, because he had one bad hole where he overshot a ball, and unfortunately he just went into the woods, had to drop and take a stroke penalty from there. But again, we'll see what happens with him. He was the favorite. Obviously, that is changing right now. But Tiger Woods, excellent round yesterday. He's his best ever, tied his best ever first round, and the first bogey-free round he's had in quite a while. So props to him as he continues his legacy.
And that course, Zach, and sorry to cut you off, but the course, after you talk about the rain delay, that was a super soaker, Zach. The ground is soft, and when I was watching yesterday for the couple holes I was watching, when the ball lands and it's not going to move or roll,
sometimes it did roll. The fairways are a little bit softer.
So that could be in your favor. That couldn't be. Sometimes it makes for a harder to putt. I can tell you that.
I think honestly that it's going to be in the favor of the younger guys. But as the course dries up over the weekend and we go into the first cut, the older guys are going to start to prevail. You're going to start to see some more veteran presence. I think that Fratelli's had a great round so far. He's still on his first round. He's still playing really well. Wouldn't shock if he finishes 8 under for the round. He's been playing that well. But again, as the course dries up, you're going to start seeing changes. But I mean, you got to give credit to guys who are still sitting in first place, who are playing really well.
The younger guys were blessed yesterday with the wet course, but the vets are going to prevail. I would think by the end of the day. Remember, the weather in Augusta. I didn't know this, Zach, but apparently there's a hurricane. I don't watch the news anymore, ladies and gentlemen, so it's all negative. But I mean, this is the only news I watch. I'm on it. But Zach, the weather in Augusta is supposed to be rainy again, so that could be in the favor of the younger guys. And for the vets, you got to think it would be in their favor, but honestly, it's not. You think about it, you play here multiple times before, and you're normally on a dry day where the course is really dry and you're used to the rolling and everything, and now it's not rolling anymore. The ball is sitting at station where it lands. So I'm interested to see how today's going to play out and ultimately the rest of the weekend.
I agree. We'll have to see how it rolls out again on Monday. We'll continue to give you guys some coverage. We should have a Green Jacket champion by that point. We'll continue to cover that. But Gavin, as we talked about earlier in the show, Thursday Night Football, a key win for this team against the Tennessee Titans. And the Titans were the favorite going into the game. We thought the Titans were better. The first drive was phenomenal. I have Ryan Tannehill as my fantasy quarterback. Gavin, 6.5 points on the first drive, 3.5 the rest of the way. So it's pretty hurtful as a fantasy owner today of Ryan Tannehill. I had Dak Prescott, of course, he went down. So not too thrilled about that. But 17 points, and then they got completely toppled over. But I'm not worried, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it's Phillip Rivers on the other side. He should have been picked twice. I'm pretty sure they were both drops. One of them was a drop. One of them he just deflected when it should have been caught. Again, drop picks are part of the game, so I'm not going to go against Phillip Rivers there. Michael Pittman looked really good last night. T.Y. Hilton's back and healthy, so maybe they're for real at this point. Trey Burton also had a few grabs. The guy who was on the front end of the Philly special, of course. And then you have the Titans, where Derrick Henry had some good running. But once the big thing was the special teams, and that's the bread and butter of the Tennessee Titans. And you have your best punter in the league, Kern, get hurt early in the year, and you've had 3 different punters since then. And your kicker has gotten hurt, and now you have Stephen Gostkowski, who has had his time, but of course
up and down, a lot down.
Adam Vinatieri, Gostkowski, they get older. You got 8 or 9 missed field goals this year. If their special teams is healthy, they win that game. You get 3 more points on the board from Gostkowski, arguably 6 because they decided to go for it on 4th down, which they didn't convert because they had no confidence at that point in his leg. You got a shanked punt and a blocked punt. So I call it a fluke. Pretty clean cut, obviously. Tannehill didn't look bad at all, but it's not his job to be stepping back and throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game. You have a run game. But once you let the game run away from you, great job by that Colts team to get that done. That block punt, that shank, really came back to hurt him. And one thing that I have to point out, too, last night, I know that it was kind of unsung given how bad their defense was altogether, but Jadeveon Clowney really made an impact last night. Still does not have any sacks on the year, but he had a few big pressures that were important. I know he's kind of been under the radar this year, but he had a pretty good night for them. And then on the other side, of course, that Colts defense in the second half stepped up when they needed to.
It's like my biggest takeaway from last night's game was and this goes back to our argument. Do you pay running backs or do you not? Who looks more valuable on the Tennessee offense? Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill?
I mean, who do you trust when you're down 2 scores?
You have to.
You give the ball to
But
Ryan.
you have.
It's a quarterback's league. It's a throwing league.
It is a throwing league. You're right. But here's where the recent memory shows. When the Tennessee Titans could control the run game, we talked about how they beat Baltimore. We talked about how they beat the New England Patriots. What did they do? They ran the ball down their throats, and they were able to score that way. Going back to earlier in the year as well, they did the same thing. Able to run the ball. Derrick Henry versus, what's it?
Buffalo.
Yeah, that's who it was. Where they just ran the ball down their throats, and he breaks off for a 90-yard run in another game. When Ryan Tannehill has to throw, that's the way you got to beat the Titans. Make Ryan Tannehill have to pass. Not saying that his weapons are bad. Not saying A.J. Brown's not good. Because that's how I'm.
A drop last time that would have been like a 70-yard touchdown.
That would have been so. Yeah, exactly.
He had another drop in the game. Remember, last year too, Tannehill made a really laser-accurate throw from the 5-yard line against Baltimore. And that next drive, play action, he throws a deep ball. Absolutely perfect. That's the style that they need, and that's why they paid him, because he can be that guy. But
Ryan Tannehill is the best game manager I've ever seen. But
last night he should have. There were a few plays that I would not put on him. If his offensive pieces were doing well, then they would have had a better opportunity of success. They would have scored another one from A.J. Brown. Again, the block punts. I blame that game on the special teams. I don't blame that really on the offense, even though they only put up 17 points. But again, if the block punt doesn't happen, if the shank doesn't happen, that game's still a one-possession game. Derrick Henry runs the ball. Ryan Tannehill makes the throws he needs to. And by the way, I do want to just make a side note here for those who may or may not have heard the broadcast. Corey Davis, number 84 on the Titans, did lose his brother, unfortunately, from a fight from kidney cancer on Wednesday. He did play last night. Very emotional before that game, of course. He did have a good night playing-wise. Props to him. I do hope, unfortunately, Tennessee declined his fifth-year option, but he's looked good this year. Nothing but the best for him, praying for him. Many may recall Torrey Smith had also had a similar situation a few years back when he had a Sunday Night Football game to play, and he also helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl. So, Corey, we're praying for you, and we wish nothing but the best. We hate to see things like that happen.
Corey Davis is a great guy. Got a chance to meet him. Zach, don't start. He's having a good year. I had a chance to meet Corey Davis, and a really genuine guy. So we're praying for the best for you. But going back to the game, Zach, that's also a really great Colts defense as well. It's underrated. The linebacker core, like I said yesterday, Malik Hooker, yes, he went down. The secondary is iffy at some days. But the linebacking core is a strong suit in the front and the front line.
The front's been great.
The front's been great. But, Zach, the question was, and the question before you asked me was, how far are the Colts contenders? And honestly, Zach, it goes as far as Phillip Rivers can take them. Is what Phillip Rivers shows up yesterday. It was, I want to say, above average Phillip Rivers, maybe?
Game managed, honestly, yesterday.
Game manager. We've seen Phillip Rivers light it up through the air, and we've seen Phillip Rivers throw souvenirs, Christmas presents. I wish he threw me one. Maybe it might have been PS5 inside. But, Zach, that's not the point. The thing is this. The Colts can be contenders, but the guy that's the helm, the quarterback, has to take them there. We said the same thing about Baltimore, is how far can Lamar Jackson run them to the playoffs? Well, you saw what happened last year. They didn't get anywhere when he had to start throwing. So it relies on Phillip Rivers and how far he can take them. But I don't believe they're contenders due to Phillip Rivers.
I do have to say, though, the balanced run and pass from the Colts, the drag routes, the simplicity of that offense, and going for it on fourth down, it reminds me of the 2017 Eagles. Wonder why.
Frank Wright is a genius, Zach. And I told you, the day that Frank Wright left was the day that the offensive mindset of the Eagles died.
And yet somehow Carson Wentz was the problem up until this year. But we'll speak about that coming up after this, because the Eagles play the Giants on Sunday on the infamous MetLife turf. Why that might not fare well for a team that's getting pretty healthy.
We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage. Single-sided print includes two 2-inch elastic ear loops. non-medical grade product. And finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode.
I've tried to do this before. When you sit down and watch an Eagles game, it's kind of hard to sit back and be analytical because you are kind of emotionally driven in the game. I've done it a few times, and I see the same pattern. Bad play design, bad play call, and then Carson Wentz does something stupid. The key to keeping this team good is keeping Carson Wentz smart. The best way to keep him smart is to put him in the best position to succeed. Don't put him in a 2nd and 15 situation. You'll probably see it a few times tomorrow. Don't run stupid routes where no one's going to be open for at least 3 or 4 steps back because then all of a sudden the pressure comes. But I will say this. The Eagles tomorrow will be the healthiest they've been in probably a year and a half. Miles Sanders will be back. Alshon Jeffrey will be back, pending any setbacks. Dallas Goedert's been back. He's healthy. Travis Fulgham was looking good. Jalen Reagor, I know Gavin, we're still waiting to see a breakout game from him, but he's overdue for one. He'll come soon. Isaac Seumalo is back. Jason Peters is back. Lane Johnson could most likely be back. Matt Pryor is healthy and starting. I mean, I want to say that's all in Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson's hands. How will this game fare out? Who will be responsible for it? And my job Sunday, I'm going to make it my job to sit back and watch what happens. And I hope they can go out there and put their foot on the gas and keep it there. I'm a little bit worried about that turf considering that most injuries have occurred on that turf this year a little bit. I hope they can get on the field and get a good feel for it before the game. It's supposed to be rainy anyway, so Miles Sanders is probably going to get a pretty big load. But in that game, in my opinion, can Doug Peterson adequately game plan to attack the Giants, and can Carson Wentz do Carson Wentz things? Get some drag routes involved with Jalen Reagor. You have the speed. I hope that Doug
slants too.
Exactly. With guys like John Hightower who are going to be getting buried on the depth chart. He runs slants pretty well. I think that for this team to be successful, you need to get the ball out of Carson Wentz's hands early. And once you get him in a rhythm, no one can stop. You saw that in 2017. You saw that at some points last year. You got to go back. Look at what the Colts did. You have a bye week this past week. You had time to watch film. Carson Wentz had time to sit down and reflect. He had time in practice to do it. Go out there. Go get him. There's a phone. I'm going to project that the Eagles do win this game by a score of 24-20. I think that the game is going to be close going to the fourth quarter, maybe 20-17 Giants, and the Eagles score a big touchdown and the defense gets a big stop.
Well, Zach, here's my thing. Here's my takeaway for this game. You're right. You got to get the ball quickly out of Carson Wentz's hands. You got to put him up in good situations. We always talk about why is Carson Wentz always look horrible and why is he always doing the most? Because look at the downage. It's always either 2nd and 15, 3rd and 15. It's never been a short situation for Carson Wentz. Run the ball on 1st down, knock so many yards off. Then you maybe pass on 2nd down. It's like you got to get the ball quickly out of his hands. I agree with you. Look what they're doing in Pittsburgh. And yes, I know, ladies and gentlemen, I call that team overrated offensively because they are, but it works. They're doing routes to get the ball quickly out of Big Ben's hand. They're doing reverses. You got Jalen Reagor. Let's try it. They're running reverse with Chase Claypool. I know Chase Claypool is not quicker than Jalen Reagor, I hope. And then you got a guy Alshon Jeffrey, who you can do out routes. You can do curl routes. Travis Fulgham, he can go up and get the ball. We've seen it multiple times. Jalen Reagor can go deep. Let's do some drags. Anybody can run a drag route. Let's do an out route. Maybe a little bit of screen pass. What happened to screen pass, Zach? We used to do that a lot here.
They've been dead this year. I've not seen. They've been blown up a few times, so they've ran away from it, and that's the big problem. They don't know how to go back and give another shot.
You got to stick to what works, regardless of it. Zach, you ever heard that thing where if you keep running the ball, right, because even though you're only getting like one or 4 yards,
when you have a guy like Miles Sanders who can break out on a 70-yard carry, it's going to be pretty important.
Exactly. Just keep chipping away at defense. This is the Giants' defense. They're gonna give up something at one point. All right. What can go wrong will go wrong with the Giants. All right. And I know that's for another NFC East team, but we're gonna use it for them this week. Zach, I'm confident that this game is gonna be a win. It will be a little stressful at some points because that's how the Eagles games are on Sundays. But I have put down in my mind that we're gonna walk away with a win. I think the score is gonna be 31-14 Eagles.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right for sure because I think that this team needs to be able to go out there and just pound the ball, put it down the Giants' throat, and show them who the dominant team is. It has to be.
And you talked about the field and turf. Zach, I'm a little bit worried too. You look at the guys in San Francisco who got destroyed by one turf, but I gotta go up experience. I feel like when it comes to the experience on field and turf, I feel like that even though that field and turf can have the worst sometimes, it got tested. There's nothing wrong with it, the NFL said. It's the one in Washington that you really got to be worried about. That's the dirty field, or the rough field, whatever you want to call it. That's where ACLs and if you're Kyle Allen, dislocation happens a lot. But there's no doubt in my mind. We will lose some people. I don't think Jason Peters will, continue the full game. And I'm not wishing injury, but that's just how it been for Jason Peters the last 2 to 3 years. But Zach, I have no doubt in my mind. I think everybody's gonna be okay this weekend. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good weekend.
I hope so. They are the healthiest that they've been in a long time, and I wish nothing but the best for them. They have to. Carson Wentz has to step up. Coming up after this now, we're going to look at the marquee matchups for the week as well as our locks for the week. Stay tuned.
Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
All right, we'll get to it. We are more than halfway done this season. That is crazy to think about. Unfortunately for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're playing the rest of the way with no bye week. But Gavin, Steelers play this weekend. It's against the Bengals, and Mason Rudolph is more than likely going to be starting. We'll get to that prediction in just a minute. But last night, of course, the Titans and the Colts. Let's go through them quickly. Texans, Browns, who are you taking?
Taking the Texans. They come close in every game. There's no reason why they shouldn't win this one.
All right, I'll take Cleveland. I think that the Texans are soft against the run. If they can run the ball, take the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hands, I think they're going to be able to pull a victory off. All right, the Washington football team and the Detroit Lions. I'm taking the Detroit Lions. Gavin?
I'm taking Detroit. I like Matt Stafford.
Buccaneers, Panthers. Does Tom Brady have a bounce-back game? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to take the Buccaneers.
I'm going to take the Panthers. They were close versus the Chiefs last week. Teddy Bridgewater is that guy.
And I could only imagine the questions that would have to be answered in Tampa if they lose back-to-back weeks in division.
No doubt.
Jaguars and the Packers in Lambeau Field. Gavin?
I'm going to take the Packers, but my man Doug Costin, he's going to get a sack this weekend.
All right, we'll stay with that. The Bills and the Cardinals. This is going to be a pretty key matchup this week. I have to go with the Bills. I think they're going to continue to roll the way they are. However, the Cardinals' defense is much better. However, I think that the Kyler Murray and then this Arizona Cardinals team are not going to be scared from this defense. It's going to be a good game.
Excuse me. I'm going to take the Cardinals. They're more versatile on offense, and Zach, the defense is there. The one thing that scares me about the Bills offensively is the run game is a hit or miss sometimes, and they're good, and Arizona is good versus the pass.
And next up, the battle of the rookie quarterbacks, Justin Herbert and the Chargers against Tua and the Dolphins. I'm going with the Dolphins here. Tua's looked good. Again, it's probably, I think we talked about this yesterday, Gavin. The Chargers are probably going to hold the lead and blow it at the end like they always do. And I feel nothing bad but for Justin Herbert because he's been playing really well. And unfortunately, that record doesn't show.
I'm about to take Tua. Zach, I've been on a Tua train ever since the year started, and it's not going anywhere. But yes, Zach, you're right. The record does not show for Justin Herbert's play.
And coming up next, the Broncos go to Las Vegas to play against the Raiders. I'll let you go first on this one, Gavin. I got to think about it.
I'm going with the Raiders. John Gruden in the run game. There's not much to like about the Broncos sometimes. They can't stop the run. They got lucky at the end of the game last week because of the Chargers, but I'm going with the Raiders this week.
I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think Drew Lock is going to continue with the momentum he had last week. We don't know if he's going to be their guy. He has to prove it here in the back end of the season. But I'll go with the Broncos in a game-winning field goal. Next up, the Seahawks go to Los Angeles against the Rams. Seahawks coming off a tough loss against the Bills. The Rams have had a bounce-back year, but Seattle still has an MVP behind center. Gavin, who are you taking?
I'm taking the Seahawks. Russell Wilson does not have bad back-to-back weeks, and sometimes the Rams are the hit or miss. We don't know what Jared Goff you're going to get.
I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think the Rams end up on top. Bengals, Steelers. Mason Rudolph starting for the Steelers, and Joe Burrow and the Bengals go into Pittsburgh. Gavin, who are you taking?
I'm taking Joe Burrow. Listen, the Steelers are overrated, and Mason Rudolph, there's nothing to like about Mason Rudolph. Yeah.
All right, I will have to go with the Steelers, and that defense will force some good turnovers against Joe Burrow. It's not going to be because of the offense. There will have to be if there's no defensive touchdown for the Steelers, they don't win the game. But I'm going to go on the assumption they do get one, and the Steelers will win. 49ers go to New Orleans to play the Saints. The Saints looking for a revenge game. Not much to play against the 49ers. There's really not much talent on that side of the field. Gavin, who are you going to take?
For the one time this year, Zach, I'm going to have to pick the Saints. The only time.
I'll agree with you on that one. I think it's not even going to be close. This poor Niners team is very beat up. And Sunday Night Football, the Ravens and the Patriots. Maybe the Patriots are looking for some revenge. Cam Newton going up against the Ravens. It's going to be in Foxborough. Gavin, who are you taking?
I'm taking the Ravens. Like we said, the offense of the Patriots struggled. There's no Julian Edelman this week either, so just look out.
For sure. We'll see if Cam Newton can put up at least a good game and that loss not to be on him. That's his goal moving forward. All right, Gavin, I'll ask you this. What is your lock of the week?
Well, there's nobody's playing the Jets this week because the Jets aren't playing, so I can't.
You're going to take the bye week against the Jets? Is that your lock?
I this Jets were losing the bye week. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be my lock right there.
All right, Baltimore Ravens over the New England Patriots. For my lock of the week, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints over the San Francisco 49ers. Again, that game is not going to be close in my opinion. I just don't think this Niners team can compete, and that will continue to put the Saints in position to be the 1 seed. Who would have thought with Michael Thomas again is healthy again, Emmanuel Sanders out there, and we'll have to see how that continues to play out. Other than that, of course, the NFC North matchup of the Chicago Bears and Minnesota Vikings, we will cover that on Monday with some predictions and more. With that being said, again, we will cover the Masters as well on Monday. We have an exciting
I do got a Masters update.
What was that?
Dustin Johnson is a 3-way tie for first place now. He is 7 under.
Did he finish the first round?
Yes, sir. I think so.
How about that for the number one in the world who just came off from having the coronavirus, missed a couple of the last tournaments, but is back here for the Masters. We're looking forward to it. We got a lot of exciting sports to cover on Monday here on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. With that being said, everybody, thank you
I
so much.
need a PS5, everybody.
And Gavin still needs the PlayStation 5. So if anyone knows a guy, hit him up.
And ladies and gentlemen, listen. If look, don't buy like 3 of them and then try to flip them for $1,000. Don't do that. Walmart, why would you guys only release one at a time yesterday? That was messed up. It was in the cart. It was in the cart, Zach. It was in the cart. It was in the cart yesterday.
Got you. It's all right. I saw my Xbox One from 2015, so it's all good. But thank you, everybody, again.
I'm a defeated person outside.
Yeah, we'll be getting the PlayStation 5 sooner or later as the holidays continue to come up. But again, thank you, everybody, and have yourselves a great weekend.
Have a good one, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos.